welcome to episode 161 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, and today is the 15th of April, so welcome everybody. I hope you've all had a lovely crafty week since the last time I've spoken to you, and I'm here to share the things that I've been making in the last 7 days. So today we have some knitting, some crochet, some sewing, which is dressmaking. I have a few questions from the Ask Me Anything thread and just some information on my shop at the end of the podcast. So you can find me on Instagram, Ravelry and Facebook as Craft House Magic, and I have my own website crafthousemagik.co.uk where you can find my hand-dyed yarns, handmade project bags, stitch markers, HiyaHiya knitting needles and crochet hooks, Clover crochet hooks and also bag making supplies. So there's a couple of Makalongs both on the Ravelry group and on Instagram. That's the craft 20 a day, so that's doing 20 minutes of something, a particular project every day to get that finished, and that runs till the end of the year. And then we've got the shawl along, which is the spring shawl along 2021, and you can use the hashtags which are in the description box down below if you want to join those on Instagram or come and join us in the Ravelry group chat. So let's get on with the knitting, shall we? I feel as if I've done hardly any knitting this week because I've been distracted by some crochet and I just don't know where the week's gone. It's gone crazy. So the knitting that I have been doing has been on my Honeycombs shawl. So what's it called? The Painted Honeycombs shawl by Stephen West. And I have done quite a bit of this because it is quite a wide project. If I can hold it up properly. And you can just about see that there's a change from one mini to the next. So I've just started, well, I've not just started, I'm pretty much nearly finished on this mini and I'm about to go on to the next one. But you can see that honeycomb texture happening. I think when it's blocked, obviously it'll hold its shape a little bit better so that I won't struggle with it all curling up. But I am blending minis that are in the sort of, in these little honeycomb shapes. Those are going to be blended one to another. And let's see if I can find the next mini that I was going to pop in. So the next colourway I'm going to put in is this lovely mini, and this is part of a mini set that I got from lovely Ishrat from Fruitful Fusion. And I got this from the Knitty Retreat earlier this year, and this is the Red Sec mini set, and I'm going to be using some of the other colourways from that same mini set in this pattern, and you can see how that's going to sort of blend in. And this colour here, this turquoisey colour, is a Collinette Jitterbug yarn in the colourway Elephant's Daydream, and I have a 150-gram cake of this to do the sort of main colour for the whole of the whole of the shawl, and then I'm going to alternate the minis. Well, not alternate, but blend the minis all in together so it has a lovely pattern. I was getting to the point where I was thinking these rows are very, very long, but they are reducing each time. So I thought I'd just give it a rest for a while and come back to it. So I have been doing some crochet in the meantime. So that segues into the crochet section, and I've been picking up my massive corner to corner crochet blanket that I've been putting all my little scraps in. So over the bank holiday weekend, which we've not long had, I put all my scraps into a massive magic knot ball. If you're interested in how I do my magic knot, I have a tutorial, video tutorial, which I'll pop the link up here and also in the description bar down below. I'm basically holding undyed merino 4-ply with all my scraps, so I'm holding 2 yarns together to crochet the corner to corner crochet blanket with a 4mm crochet hook. Now this is quite large, so it's going to be a bit of a pain to hold up, so hopefully I can get it all in the screen. So I was getting, I don't know why I sort of put this down for a while. I do know why, it's because I'd run out of scraps and I needed to sort out all my scraps so that I could get back into putting it in. So this is the corner that I started off the blanket with, and then I've been working in this direction all the way across. And then I have, oh gosh, this is quite heavy. And I've worked quite a large length of it, and I'm actually starting to decrease now. So on this side I've decreased I've started to decrease after that much, but on the other side I actually started to decrease a little bit later, so it is more of a rectangular shape. But it's difficult to show you the whole thing, but now at least I feel like the length of the rose is a little bit shorter. So I'm literally putting all my lovely little scraps in there, and I'm trying to keep the colours sort of the same sort of mid-tones and lighter colours so that it sort of blends together nicely. But I do think that putting the undyed yarn with it just sort of tones the colours down anyway. I was a bit, I don't say, I'm looking at it now, there's a section here where I used a mini of Dear Jessie and it's sort of striped. And I don't know if I like that, but when I actually look at it in real life, it doesn't bother me too much. It's just when I hold it up on the screen. So I might just leave it. But that's how I'm getting on with that. So I'm hoping I can get this finished within this year, completely finished. I'm going to put some sort of edging around the outside. The tutorial that I followed for this is the Bella Coco tutorial for the corner to corner crochet blanket, and I will leave a link to that in the description bar down below if you want to have a go yourself. So if you are looking for some undyed merino yarn, I do sell that in my shop in the yarn section, and it's called Like a Virgin, which I think is hilarious. Adam did think of it though, it wasn't me. So I'm on to my sewing section now, and I've got some dressmaking to show you. So I thought I would let Barbara have the day off today and show you the things that I've been sewing over the weekend. So this t-shirt here is the Concord t-shirt by Cashmerette, and it is a short sleeve version with a v-neck. There are lots of other versions as well. There's a high neck, a round neck and a v-neck neck, and then you've also got different sleeve options, but I've just got the short sleeve for this version. So the first one I made, I found that it was a little bit sort of gapey over the shoulders, but I did take 3 inches out of the neckband on this one, and that smoothed it out nicely, and also it's just brought the neckline up just a little bit, and I think that that's a nice, not too low neckline now, so that's good. So what I did is I followed the instructions of how to join the bottom of the v-neck, and then instead of using the notches on the pattern, because I'd taken 3 inches off, I just distributed the rest evenly around the neckline. This fabric is just a plain black, it's a cotton jersey fabric that I picked up from Sherwood Fabrics, and I think it is a Lady Mcelroy version of a cotton jersey. This actually feels like it's got a lot of stretch in it, and it feels really comfortable and sort of loose, even though I've cut out the same pattern pieces that I have in a different cotton jersey before. It just shows that different cottons can have different sort of properties, slightly different properties, and feel quite different on. And I thought that it would be nice to pair it with a nice skirt. And I picked up this fabric from Sherwood Fabrics as well. It's another Lady Mcelroy, and it is the foliage canopy print in the Lady Mcelroy linen chambray fabric. So it's a nice light and breezy fabric to have a summer skirt out of. What I did do is that this is the Fiore skirt by Closet Core Patterns, and this is view C. It's got a button placket up the front and some pockets at the sides. So you can choose a length of skirt that is supposed to be above the knee, which is this one, but for me, because I'm short, it comes just to the knee, and I think that that's a nice summery length for me. I think that sometimes longer skirts, they can get caught on things and get on my nerves, so I like a sort of one just to the knee, not above the knee, because I don't like showing my knees too much, but I think that if it goes to the knee, it's got quite a flattering length, because that's the sort of slimmest part of my leg. So I did actually lengthen the back of the skirt by 1 inch to make it even, the hemline for the front and the back, because I've got quite a big bum. But that was easy enough, and I tend to do that modification on all skirts anyway. The only thing is with these pockets that I've added, I think that this material, it's got so much drape in it that I need to just put a bar tack at the top of the pocket here, just sort of 1/3 of the way down. I can still use it as a pocket, just to stop it from sort of bagging at the bottom here, which is annoying me slightly, but that's easily rectified with a little tack just there. But I'm really quite happy about the length and everything. I'm definitely going to make more of these Fiore skirts because it's just a lovely, lovely shape. I did make a mistake with the button placket at the front. It should have been slightly wider, but I think it's fine. I'm quite pleased with how it's turned out anyway, which has made it slightly looser around the waist because I didn't fold it over enough. But actually that works quite well because sometimes you don't want things to be too tight and it to be quite comfortable, just to sit in the garden and have a nice picnic. So I'll give you a little bit of a twirl and show you my outfit completely. And I'm sorry Barbara's not here today, but I'm sure she'll be back next week. So now we have the Ask Me Anything section, and I have a few questions from the Ravelry group, but you can also contact me on my email address, and my email is crafthousemagik@gmail.com. Now the first question is from Susan. She was asking me, have I ever had my colours done? Because she quite likes a lot of the colours that I show in the things that I make. And wow, I haven't ever actually had them done properly. I've always just sort of put colours to my face. Do I think this goes? And then I'll decide myself really. I should really have it done. It might be quite interesting to see what they come up with, but I think I suit quite a lot of sort of turquoises and sort of spring summer colours maybe. So the next question is from Navneet, and she was asking me, is stretching an inherent property of merino? Now, because merino is quite a drapey sort of yarn, I think you do get a little bit more stretching than some of the more rustic yarns. If you knit it in quite an open gauge, it will stretch quite a lot, and also it depends on the length that you've knitted. So the more you knit, the heavier that piece will be, so the more likely it is to stretch. But I do have a habit of tending to go to a tighter gauge than a pattern suggests, just to keep it so that it doesn't stretch too much. So tighter gauge is a really important factor. Obviously you'd need to go up a size or do some calculations to make sure the rest of the garment fits you. Sometimes things are already designed to be at quite a tight gauge anyway. If you've knitted in a tighter gauge, it'll also be more durable as well. So the second part of the question, will garments stretch and lengthen with subsequent washing? I think you need to be careful with how you wash things. If they are merino, when you've washed them, I'd to be honest, with a garment that's made out of a really nice hand dyed merino, I tend to hand wash them. So when you hand wash them, just be really careful when you squeeze the water out that you're not sort of wringing it, you're not stretching those fibres out. And then when you're placing it to dry, make sure that you don't sort of throw it around. Be very gentle with what you're doing with your knitting, and if you place it out nice and carefully and don't sort of stretch it in any way, you're less likely to get any stretching. I think that a lot of people get more stretching because they're not very careful with how they get their garment out of the water and then carefully place it out to block it. Obviously if you block it and you're stretching it out when you're blocking it, it will then stretch more. But you will get a certain amount of stretch with merino. But I do like to have drape in my garments, so I think that when you have drape in the fibre that you choose, you do tend to get a little bit more stretching. The third part of the question was which other fibres might stretch. I have heard a lot of things about linen stretching quite a lot. I've never actually knitted anything with linen in terms of a garment myself, but I think that linen is supposed to stretch a lot, so I would be very careful with knitting something oversized in linen. I think if you actually used fibres that were sort of non-superwash and more rustic yarns, you're less likely to get things stretched there. So if you're really against things stretching and lengthening, go for a more rustic yarn. I think as well, as long as you know that your garment will normally lengthen an inch or two when you're knitting it, it's absolutely fine. You wouldn't really notice it. You just need to sort of take it into account when you're knitting it. But like I said, if you go for more rustic fibres, like non-superwash Blue-Faced Leicester, for instance, you know that's not going to stretch at all and keep its structure. But then again, it's not very drapey. So you always have to sort of have a bit of a compromise for what you want to, the properties you want to choose from. My last question for the Ask Me Anything section is from Tracy, and she was asking, have I or would I participate in any yarn shows? So far I haven't done any yarn shows myself, having a proper stall, partly because I already do like a whole day every week of doing a podcast and sort of advertising myself there. So having to do a show, there'd be a lot of additional work. So it's a sort of alternative for me, instead of having to go to shows, although it is nice for people to sort of see and feel the yarns. I do try and give little samples of yarns when people buy sort of needles and things, so that they can see what the colours look like, what the yarns feel like, rather than just buying them from pictures. But I'm not planning to do any in the near future, just because there's a different type of work. You've got to have a lot of stock, you've got to have all the tables and the display units set up, you've got to be able to sort of store all the stock and take it to the venue and have like a van to take it all in. So there's a lot of other things to consider there. So maybe in the future I might do it, who knows. So last of all, I've just got some information on my shop. As I mentioned last week, I just wanted to reiterate that the yarn clubs for May will be out on the 23rd of April, and they'll be available on my website until the 7th of May, and they will be shipped on the 21st of May. So you have plenty of time there from the 23rd of April till the 7th of May to purchase the May yarn clubs. I also wanted to say that I've got some new animal print bags coming out on the 30th of April, but I'm going to keep those a secret until then. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I'll see you next week. Bye!